What do we know about IT gravity? Goyd question, but the answer us worst. Very little. In Newtonian physics, Earth gravity weighs at 9.8 meters per second. That's about 1 microsecond. That's kind of fast. In relativity theory, gravity uses geodesic curvature. It's the curvature an object follows because of a round planet. Because it's round, it's not a flat space rate, it's curved. In quantum physics theory, gravity is the existence of nodes. Nodes are simplified psioid graviton particles that fill the space that lacks the presence of hard matter. Hard matter can be classified as, for example, water. Sea is filled with water. It's the same as ader that falls from clouds, bouncing and crashing into nodes as they fall, breaking up what might be a pour of rain instead, is broken into smaller droplets. This what happens to free-falling objects. Nodes act in abundance like the water in the sea, but are cushioned by these node vortices, creating a definite free-falling rate for all objects no matter its size mass. All objects fall at the same rate. 9.8 meters a second. That rate is pretty fast, but quantum physics gravity has no geodesic curvature, or it's so small it's not enough to measure. The reason of thus is expanse. Though relativity asserts a curvature expanse, which acts as the dominant gravity force, diminishes any geodesic curvature. It does this because it expands space at a greater rate than the speed of light. Standard theory asserts the speed of gravity is equal to the speed of light. This was a statement from Albert Einstein, but expanse has been measured to be faster than light. It is how fast the universe is expanding. The Hubble rate, 43 miles per second per megasec, is how fast the galaxies recede on space. This is measurable to be the slow dragging of the galaxies receding in a space expansion velocity, measurable to be the speed of light. This is where the quantum physics theory opens up. It is the speed the universe is expanding by. With this, Rodney Kowecki has been able to formalize his new theory about gravity, which extends into superluminal space exploration travel rates and conditions in advanced physics that form speculative bumps and curves passable in his theory.
Here in this video is a new theoretical language for what is now called expanse gravitation. Expanse gravity is a leading zero-point gravity theory that acts at the threshold of the example Earth's gravity. Earth gravity is a distortion of the centralized grid, the expansion of the universe itself. This film underlines the realm of what gravity is in all its forms, relative to different densities it involves with at the celestial scale. The planets, stars, solar system of stars, and of course, the galaxies. Little has been revealed about gravity, except that in relativity theory, Einstein describes it as a geodesic curvature freefall. Newtonian theory explains gravity as the freefall of objects measuring at 9.8 meters per second. Relativity gives no distinct shift in his gravity force. Here, Rodney Kowecki makes it clear that gravity is made up of nodes or graviton particles that cushion freefall of objects as a distinct increase of its rest state to a greater dense state dependent of the mass, as all masses fall at the same rate.
For over a century, physics has told us we are stuck. A cosmic speed limit wrapped in the idea that space is an empty void, and moving faster than light requires infinite mass. But what if space isn't empty? What if c isn't a speed limit, but a drag limit? Welcome to the quantum physics expanse. Here, gravity isn't a pull or a warp in space-time. Matter displaces a highly pressurized universal grid. Gravity is simply the external pressure of the expanse pushing back. As energy and light travel through this medium, they face constant friction. This slow-dragging structure is what dictates the speed of light. The universe is a moving medium expanding at 43 miles per second per megaparsec, anchoring everything to its terminal velocity. To break the barrier, we don't need more fuel. We need to decouple. By generating a localized zero field, a craft can neutralize the grid's pressure. No displacement means no inertia. No inertia means the standard laws of relativistic mass break down. The slow dragging effect disappears. By leveraging the mobile medium of the expanding expanse, the craft surges past the standard wave propagation of light. Reaching speeds of 2c, interstellar travel transforms from a multi-generational dream into a logistical flight. We are not stuck at sea. We just had to learn how to stop fighting the grid and start surfing it. For centuries, physics has treated space as an empty container, a passive fabric warped only by the heavy footprints of mass. We're taught that an object coasting through the void encounters nothing. But what if space isn't empty? What if motion isn't just traveling through a vacuum, but a violent, dynamic collision with a pressurized medium? Welcome to the kinetic grid model. In this framework, an object is a localized node of physicalized energy. It has scale, what we traditionally call mass. When an object accelerates, it must physically displace the dense, high-pressure flow of the carrier force. This creates baseline resistance. How hard it is to push forward depends on the object's energetic character. Unstable, chaotic frequencies create turbulent drag. Coherent frequencies part the grid lines smoothly, easing the transition into motion. Once an object hits its set velocity, something incredible happens. It enters the decoupled state. The grid lines no longer pile up. The object achieves frequency harmony with the medium. In the kinetic grid model, inertia isn't just a magical law, it's a state of zero field tension. Because the carrier force is constantly expanding, a decoupled object literally surfs the expansion of the universe, retaining its momentum without needing a single drop of continuous fuel. But what if you want to break the ultimate speed limit? Traditional relativity says approaching light speed causes mass to balloon to infinity because you are plowing into space-time. The massless propulsion engine solves this by cheating the system. Instead of pushing against the universe, the engine projects a resistance elimination zone, erasing the grid lines in front of the craft. The high-pressure carrier force behind sees this absolute vacuum and collapses into it, instantly carrying the ship's scale forward. No grid to plow into means zero resistance, and no mass gain wall. Faster-than-light travel becomes a matter of falling into a self-generated void. This highlights the fundamental flaw in Einstein's relativity. Space-time isn't a passive fabric that stays bent. The kinetic grid is a highly active, elastic medium under immense flexible tension. As mass passes, the grid deforms to accommodate internal forces. But the moment the object is gone, The universal pressure of the carrier force forces the grid to instantly equalization and snap back. Gravity isn't a permanent geometry. It's a dynamic, restoring pressure. The universe is not an empty stage. It is a pressurized ocean of energy. And once we learn how to swim with the grid or erase it entirely, the stars are no longer out of reach.
Space is not an empty void. It is not a mathematical abstraction. It is a physical, substantive medium completely saturated with matter. Every single inch of the cosmos is packed with a high-pressure subatomic architecture, the Graviton grid. What we once called a vacuum is actually a cooperative, frictionless highway of pristine nodes resting at their baseline ground state. But this pristine grid changes dramatically when mass enters the equation. It is core density, and density alone, that generates gravity. Under postulate 1, a massive planetary core acts as a physical anchor, compressing surrounding graviton nodes tightly together. This creates a steep pressure gradient. Matter isn't being pulled by an invisible force. It is being funneled by immense grid pressure toward the dense core. As you journey further away into the empty void, the influence of the planet's core thins out. The grid relaxes. You enter postulate 2, micro zero-point gravity, a flat, unwarped realm where structural inertia and resistance drop to absolute zero. Because celestial bodies are fully anchored to this grid, they are entirely at its mercy. The universe is undergoing a massive macro expansion, a 2C expanse. The pristine outer edges of space stretch forward, applying a violent fluid shear to heavy, dense galactic structures caught in its wake. This cosmic torque forces entire galaxies to spin and twists their gravity wells straight along the vector of the 2C expansion. Galaxies are passive passengers, slow dragged by space itself. So, how do we traverse this medium? Standard mechanical thrust forces a ship to fight the architecture of space. Near light speed, the graviton nodes stretch to their maximum energy length, fracturing and violently resetting. This node break and reset cycle acts as a hard barrier for any mass resting on the expansion grid. But an independent craft, engineered to decouple from the universal mesh, retains zero ties to it. By establishing an isolated midfield vacuum pocket, the ship sheds all drag, all inertia, and all curved geodesic paths. Free from subatomic restraints, its mechanical thrust applies with 100% efficiency, sliding through the cosmos at 2C, moving independently of space itself.
For over a century, humanity's journey to the stars has been locked inside a mathematical cage. In 1905, Albert Einstein observed the universe through the narrow scope of the subatomic world. He watched naked, unshielded particles inside particle accelerators struggle against the baseline vacuum medium. As energy was pumped into these cyclotrons, the particles didn't just speed up, they became heavily entangled with the local terrain. Their mass inflated exponentially toward infinity as they neared the speed of light. From this micro-scale exposure, relativity made a massive strategic leap. It assumed that because a naked subatomic particle is dragged and trapped by local coordinates, a massive starship must suffer the exact same fate. This is the accelerator fallacy, mistaking the physics of the building blocks of matter for the rules governing macro-scale engineering.
We do not live in a subatomic world. We live in a planetary realm with its own distinct rules, like the concentrated gravity fields that anchor us to Earth. But when we venture into the deep space expanse, we enter a vast, entirely new terrain. It is a physical, high-pressure medium structured by a universal grid of active nodes.
To navigate this new interstellar terrain, the answer lies not in abstract geometry, but in physical architecture. Enter the DC-3 hull matrix. Unlike an exposed particle, a starship features an active technological boundary. When the internal engines provide power, the embedded generator array projects a localized gravity isolation field outward. This field directly neutralizes the high ambient pressure of the external space vacuum. Immediately surrounding the hull, the local vacuum density drops to zero relative to the craft. Through this automated process, the ship completely uncouples from the universal expansion grid. It severs the relativistic tie. Mainstream physics suggested that the only way past the light barrier was the Alcubierre warp drive, a model requiring non-existent exotic matter to violently deform space. But warping space creates a catastrophic horizon wall, trapping the ship and dangerously sweeping up destructive cosmic radiation.
Field decoupling requires no exotic space warping. We do not bend the grid, we uncouple from it. Because the subatomic particles inside our hull are completely insulated from the external terrain, they experience zero inertia dragging.
By shifting the math back to independent mechanics, mass remains a stable, localized variable. It does not inflate. Consequently, travel thrust is 100% preserved. The propulsion system experiences zero diminishing returns, allowing the ship to cleanly double the baseline wave propagation speed, achieving a stable velocity of 2 times light speed, 2c, with absolutely zero interference or entanglement. When we shake off the institutional inertia of the subatomic cage, the cosmos changes from a theoretical impossibility into a structured timeline of engineering milestones. A starship supported by an automated decoupling hull can cross the 25.8 trillion miles to neighboring systems like Alpha Centauri in a predictable, stable 4.4-year journey. No time dilation paradoxes, no infinite energy traps. We are independent agents of a planetary realm, possessing the self-directing autonomy to choose where we travel, what we discover, and with whom we journey. There exist no permanent physical barriers to independent agency. The dream of interstellar transit does not belong to abstract geometry. It belongs entirely to the architects of macro-scale propulsion.
I don't think people understand what Einstein actually called his blunder. Spoiler, it wasn't relativity, it was a cosmic band-aid. When Einstein solved his field equations, the math said the universe must change, expand, contract. Back then everyone believed the cosmos was static, so he added the cosmological constant, L, a repulsive term to perfectly balance gravity and pin the universe in place. He later called that tweak his biggest blunder, after Hubble showed the universe is expanding. Ironically, L lives on in modern cosmology as dark energy, a way to bound the universe's fate, not erase it. Science wrong turns can point the way forward. If your speed cap looks like a fraction, you're doing the math, not the physics. What if mass wasn't married to velocity? Let's unpick it. Einstein tied mass and velocity together with the Lorentz factor. As v nears c, the denominator shrinks and calculated mass blows up to infinity. Critics call this exploiting the arithmetic table, because mass stops being an independent variable and becomes a pure function of your frame. Some researchers say that's a mathematical barrier, not a physical one. If an object could decouple from the local velocity grid, mass could stay local and propulsion energy wouldn't spike the same way. Bottom line, rethink the assumptions. Myth math might change how we imagine speed limits in the cosmos.